Welcome back, dear viewers, to my channel, where we delve into the darkest corners of human nature to shed light on horrifying crimes. In today's video, we embark on an extremely emotional journey to uncover the heart-wrenching story of Gabriel Fernandez, a young boy who suffered unspeakable abuse and ultimately lost his life at the hands of those who were supposed to protect him. The pain of losing a child is a burden no parent should bear, and it is with great sorrow that we acknowledge the permanent void left by Gabriel's absence. I understand that your grief is complex and multifaceted, encompassing not only the loss of a young life filled with potential, but also the anguish of knowing the horrors he endured. It is my sincerest hope that you find solace and support in your loved ones, in the memories you hold dear, and in the knowledge that Gabriel's story has shed light on the urgent need for change within the systems designed to safeguard our children. Your courage in sharing his story has brought attention to the failings of the child welfare system, sparking important conversations and pushing for reforms that will help protect other children from experiencing similar tragedies. Please know that your family is not alone in this journey of healing and seeking justice. We stand alongside you, offering our compassion, understanding, and unwavering support. May you find strength and resilience amidst the darkest of times, and may Gabriel's memory serve as a beacon of hope for a better future. Our story begins in the city of Palmdale, California, where Gabriel Fernandez was born on February 20th, 2005. At first glance, he was just like any other child, full of curiosity, dreams, and an innocent smile. However, fate had something far more sinister in store for him. Gabriel's short life started out harsh. When he was born, his mother Pearl left him at the hospital for someone else to raise. She simply did not want him. For the first 7 years of his life, he was raised by family members until, in 2012, Pearl suddenly wanted him back, ironically claiming that Gabriel wasn't being cared for properly. Gabriel's home life with his mom, Pearl, and her boyfriend, Isaro Aguirre, was anything but nurturing and safe. His mother and Aguirre were entrusted with his care. Tragically, instead of love and protection, Gabriel was subjected to unimaginable cruelty and abuse behind closed doors. Gabriel only lived in their home for 8 months and suffered abuse all 8 months until his untimely death at the hands of these monsters. Though Gabriel's suffering was hidden from public view, there were those who sensed something was amiss. Teachers, neighbors, and family members noticed the bruises, the signs of malnourishment, and the fear in Gabriel's eyes. But unfortunately, the system designed to protect him failed to intervene in time. As we dive deeper into Gabriel's harrowing story, we encounter the heart-wrenching details of the abuse he endured. From being forced to eat cat litter to being bound and gagged for extended periods, Gabriel was subjected to relentless torture. The cruelty inflicted upon him reached unimaginable levels, leaving both physical and emotional scars that he would carry until the end. Despite the ongoing torment, Gabriel attempted to reach out for help, leaving a trail of breadcrumbs for those who would listen. He confided in his teacher, leaving notes about the abuse he suffered. However, the response from authorities fell short, leaving Gabriel trapped in a cycle of despair. On May 22, 2013, the unthinkable occurred. Gabriel's frail body could no longer withstand the torture he endured. Severely beaten and with multiple injuries, He was rushed to the hospital, fighting for his life. However, despite the efforts of medical professionals, Gabriel succumbed to his injuries 2 days later, marking the tragic end to a life filled with pain and suffering. Severely beaten and with multiple injuries, he was rushed to the hospital, fighting for his life. Gabriel's untimely death sent shockwaves throughout the community, sparking outrage and a demand for justice. The subsequent investigation revealed the depths of his abuse, exposing the negligence and failures of the systems meant to protect vulnerable children. Pearl Fernandez and Isaro Aguirre were arrested, charged with first-degree murder, promoting a long-awaited reckoning.
Privy to this case. I sat through it. I heard the evidence. I was privy to the photographs, coroner's photographs, the extent of the injuries and what have you. And this almost demands that comment be made about this case. It goes without saying that the conduct was horrendous, inhumane, and nothing short of evil. The repeated beatings, burning, starving, binding, shooting Gabriel with BBs that were embedded in different parts of his body, knocking his teeth out with a bat, locking him in a dark cabinet while he's bound, and starving this poor child. It is unimaginable the pain that this child probably endured. And from what I heard, Gabriel was a kind, loving individual who just wanted to be loved. And so, you want to say that the conduct was animalistic, but that would be wrong, because even animals know how to take care of their young, some to an extent that they will sacrifice their own lives in caring for their young. I remember seeing years ago a report on the news that and this at least sent the point home to me about animals. And there was this cat who had given birth to a litter of cats, and the house wherein the kittens were in was on fire. And that's what I think it made the news, because the fire department was trying to put the fire out, but each time the mother went in to retrieve a kitten, and she would emerge from the house by the scruff, holding the kitten by the scruff, and would manage one by one to bring him or her to safety. And the last time, the house was lost, and the fire department tried to keep this cat from going into the house, but it managed to elude them, went into the house, and they thought, well, she's lost. And I never forgot thinking she made it out of the house. She had the cat by the scruff, except that she was singed and burning her face. But the thing that really struck me was the cat was not blind. The intensity of the heat burned her eyes, but she never let go of that kitten. And so when you want to say, first instinct is to say, you know what, this is animalistic. No, it's beyond animalistic, because animals know how to take care of their young. I can only wish, I really do, that you both, in the middle of the night, you wake up and you think of the injuries that you subjected this poor young man, this poor 7-year-old, and that it tortures you. I rarely say that. I rarely say that. It'll be a different type of torture, because you won't be in pain, physical pain. But I'm not sure that you're capable of doing that. But that's my wish. Moving on to the issue of sentencing, let the court state at this time that it has had the opportunity to review the probation reports prepared by the probation department. I'm holding both up. I don't know if counsel has copies of this, but it did consider it. It did read it. And so, keeping that in mind, I'm going to move to the issue of sentencing with respect to Cynthia Fernandez, and I'll ask counsel for Ms. Fernandez, Pearl Cynthia Fernandez, if you want to be heard on anything further.
No, Your Honor, we would submit on the report.
All right. Do the people wish to be heard on anything further? All right. Does counsel for the defendant waive time for arraignment for judgment and sentencing? Thank you. On February 15th, 2018, the defendant, Pearl Cynthia Fernandez, entered a plea to murder in the first degree and further admitted the special circumstance of intentional murder by torture, pursuant to Penal Code Section 190.2, subsection A18. the defendant having waived all appellate and habeas rights as part of the plea agreement. The court ultimately finding that the defendant's plea and waiver of all of her constitutional and statutory rights were made knowingly, willingly, voluntarily, and intelligently, and further, that she understood all of the consequences of her plea. Moreover, the record reflects that the defendant confirmed that she was intellectually capable of entering and understanding her plea agreement. Accordingly, it is the judgment and sentence of this court that the defendant shall be sentenced to a term of life in prison without the possibility of parole for the underlying murder charge, coupled with the special torture special circumstance allegation under Penal Code Section 190.2, subsection A18. With respect to Mr. Isario Aguirre, I'll ask counsel, do you waive arraignment for judgment and sentencing?
Yes.
Any legal cause where judgment should not be pronounced? All right. It is a judgment and sentence of this court that for the crime of murder in the first degree committed under the special circumstance that the murder was intentional and involved the infliction of torture, defendant Isario Aguirre shall be put to death within the walls of the California State Prison at San Quentin.
In the aftermath of Gabriel's murder, the case became a catalyst for change. The tragic story shed light on the failures within the child welfare system, prompting reforms and discussions surrounding child protection laws. Gabriel's memory lives on as a symbol of the urgent need to prioritize the safety and well-being of every child.
A new development in the agonizing case of Gabriel Fernandez, the 8-year-old boy tortured to death by his mother and her boyfriend. Today, a judge dismissed the charges against 4 social workers accused of failing to protect the little boy. Our Rob Hayes has the story.
7 years, that's how long it's been since Gabriel Fernandez died at the hands of his mother and her boyfriend. His death, torture, especially grisly and drawn out over months.
I'm sorry to my children. I love them to know that I love them. And I hope one day they will forgive me.
The 8-year-old's mother, Pearl Fernandez, sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Her boyfriend, Isario Aguirre, sentenced to death. But prosecutors also put the blame on these people, 4 LA County Department of Children and Family Services employees that handled Gabriel's case. They were charged with child abuse and falsifying records related to the case. But in January, an appellate court ruled the 4 could not be charged, forcing trial judge George Lomelli to dismiss the charges.
Pursuant to the Court of Appeals directive, the motions to dismiss are hereby granted.
Gabriel's grandfather in the courtroom this morning, but leaving quickly after the hearing. None of the 4 DCFS workers were willing to take questions from reporters today, but their attorneys gave short statements.
We are very grateful for the court's decision in light of the fact that the court has found that they are all factually innocent.
Now, after the hearing, the Department of Children and Family Services released a written statement saying it respects the judge's decision to dismiss charges against its employees.
It has, quote, taken significant steps to mitigate risk and improve our capacity countywide in order to best serve vulnerable children and families. And as a department, we remain committed to ensuring that reform continues. Today's ruling deems the 4 social workers factually innocent, meaning their records will be cleared.
While they weren't convicted, they all 4 lost their jobs. I hope they all sleep comfortably at night. Let us not forget Gabriel's name, for it represents not only a young life cut short, but also the countless other children who continue to suffer in silence. His memory compels us to take action, to advocate for the reforms necessary to ensure that no child falls through the cracks of a broken system. As we close this chapter, let us keep Gabriel and his family in our thoughts, offering them our support and empathy. Let us strive to create a society where the well-being of every child is a priority, where the signs of abuse are recognized and acted upon swiftly, and where justice is served for those who have suffered. Together we can work towards a world where no child endures such unspeakable cruelty, a world where compassion and love prevail. Let Gabriel's story be a catalyst for change. a rallying cry for us all to stand up against child abuse and neglect. Thank you for joining us on this difficult journey. We hope that this narrative has shed light on the tragedy of Gabriel Fernandez and has inspired you to make a difference in the lives of vulnerable children. Let us remember Gabriel, honor his memory, and strive to create a safer world for every child. See something, say something. Call your local police department if you do see something, or call 911. Kiss your babies goodnight and always keep them safe.